is only a 2% Democrat advantage, right? And if we have the gubernatorial candidates in Jersey and Virginia not even outperforming Harris, who ultimately lost, right? It's not great for the Democrats.
Are you saying outperforming in actual numbers or in percentage of the vote?
I'm saying percentage of the vote. I'm saying if they get less of a percentage of the vote, even if they win, right, but they don't outperform Harris, I think that's just not great news for the Democrat.
So this might help answer the question a little bit, at least in terms of a snapshot of where people are at today based on the polling. And the polling, there's a wide disparity in the results, or pretty wide disparity in the results. But in each case of the ones that I just pulled up, most folks blame the Republicans more so than the Democrats. So a recent poll by NBC News found 52% of registered voters say Republicans and the president are more to blame versus 42% who say Democrats. A poll by Navigator Research found that 45% would blame Trump and congressional or do blame Trump and congressional Republicans for the shutdown versus 26% blaming congressional Democrats. And the latest Associated Press Newark Center for Public Affairs research poll found that a whopping 60% say Trump and Republicans in Congress bear a great deal or quite a bit of responsibility. But interestingly, 54% say the same of Democrats in Congress.
Yeah, and Gary, look, the Republicans, in some sense, right, this is at their doorstep, right? Because there's one of two options, right? I mean, they need 7 Democratic votes or whatever, right? There's a price tag to those. It's $30 billion a year, $300 billion over 10 years. That's not a lot of money, right? I mean, it is in a deficit, but any billions or billions of billions. But compared to what we're giving that to Argentina, also, it's not to give people health care, right? I mean, that's not a massive amount of money. Now, if on principle you don't want to do that, you could get rid of the filibuster, right? But which most Democrats favor doing anyway, right? But there, Republicans tend to like the filibuster, right? It's a thing for, if you are philosophically conservative, it's a thing to like, right? It's sort of a buffer against extreme legislation, right? If you've got to get a supermajority functionally to get past the Senate, then you need broad consensus, right? And that's tough to get. It's very different again than a Westminster parliamentary style system where once you get 50+1, you can kind of run the table for a while. You can't, so Republicans could end the shutdown tomorrow. End it tomorrow, right?
That's what the Republicans say about the Democrats.
No, all the Republicans have to say is, all right, we'll give these 7 people, the cost is about $30 billion a year. That's not a lot of money, right? But if you don't want to pay that, then you could get rid of the filibuster. That's also on the table. Right? The Democrats have dug in and said, yeah, if you want 7 votes, here's what it costs, right? You didn't get 60 votes in the Senate.
Wait a minute, are you suggesting that the president is playing into the hands of the Democrats by demanding the filibuster be eliminated?
Well, I'm saying that would be something Democrats wouldn't mind seeing done. I mean, when you poll Democrats, the Wall Street Journal just had an editorial about the danger of removing the filibuster, right? But that's an option. Trump would like to see it done. That's an option. The Republicans have cards to play, right? They could play them and end the shutdown, right? The Democrats have said, we will end the shutdown. It will cost $300 billion. There's a price tag to it. Now, I think if you ask most Americans, is $30 billion on top of a huge budget, a budget this big a year, that big of a deal, especially with the tax cuts we passed, all this stuff. Most people don't think that's an exorbitant amount of money. Nobody's going to be pissed off that the Republicans added $30 billion a year over 10 years, each year, to end the shutdown and to give some people health care. Republicans don't want to do that. Option 2, end the filibuster. Shut the Democrats down that way. The Republicans don't want to do that. So they're asking the Democrats to lay down the one card they don't want to lay down, right? So, Trump's the great negotiator, and Trump said in 2013, shutdowns are failures of the presidency. I ask you, Gary, why can the great deal maker, the guy who solved every war. There is no more war, Gary. I mean, this guy is the Prince of Peace. I mean, if he was the Messiah, probably would have rose on the second day, not the third day. Why can't Trump, the great deal maker, get this deal done?
Well, in order to exercise the art of the deal, to use his terminology, you have to sit down with people. And he won't sit down with the Democrats. So that's your answer to your question. And I'm sure you already knew the answer to your question when you asked it. For those of you who are scratching their heads and saying, what did Gary say about the AP poll? How is that even possible? Hey, I'm scratching my head too. Don't blame the messenger. I'm just reading it. It says here that the AP poll found that 60% say Trump and the Republicans in Congress bear a great deal or quite a bit of responsibility, while 54% say the same of Democrats in Congress. I thought this was out of 100. And I do believe, I'm not very good at math, but I do believe that 60 and 54 is beyond 100. Am I right? If I'm wrong, somebody correct me. Marshall, followed by Brian.
Hey, Jerry. So I'll disagree slightly with my dear friend Scott. I think it was talking to another buddy of mine. I think it's going to be a wash in terms of. I think both parties are going to end up taking some blame here. Usually, as you pointed out, the party in power is the one that takes the shutdown blame. But I think there is an argument. I'd also like to lift a hat to Brent, who said this at least a week ago, that the way the Republicans could get around the shutdown was by blowing up the filibuster. I think the filibuster is a control of the chamber. Now, we didn't, as we've talked before, we didn't have it all the time. But it does mandate broad consensus. I don't think constructing the Senate as a 51% chamber, at least during this era, is a good idea. It'll end up with majorities in both houses just forcing things down other people's throats in ways that'll be probably really unhealthy for us. I think if Mamdani wins in New York, there's going to be a flee of businesses, depending on what he does in the 5 boroughs. Now, that's just an outsider looking in, so you have to take it for what it is, because I don't, I live in New York. Virginia, Attorney General's race, not sure who'll win that one. And there's one more. New Jersey. I'd like the conservative guy to win. New Jersey has been governed by Democrats for quite a while, if my understanding serves me correctly. I think if you're looking for a political win that backs up a policy win, if you get the government open back by Saturday, it's going to be on semi-Republican terms. It will mean that you'll get 7 senators, if we don't blow the filibuster up, will come across the line and say, you know what, it is worth it. And that policy win might be worth the shutdown. So I'll leave it with that.
And can you suss out his Truth Social post? When I say his, you obviously know to whom I refer when I say Truth Social, in which he says that if they do not enact the nuclear option, they're going to lose Congress in the midterms. The only thing that I could maybe think, Marshall, is that he's scared to death that this shutdown is really hurting their chances in the midterms, and it has to come to an end. And so, as Scott just suggested, well, they do have a card to play, and that is ending the filibuster, and then they can force the issue, and they have the votes. And
they can, but the Republicans for decades have maintained an opposition to changing the filibuster. maintaining that it's a ability for the minority to have their say. And as I've said to people before, the Democrats haven't exactly been consistent about this. When they're in the minority, they use the filibuster all the time, and they don't complain about it. Now, I'm with Scott. If you pull it internally, Democrats really don't like it very much. So the only thing I can think of off the top of my head is that the president seems to believe that the longer this drags on, the worse it gets for both sides. And as you were saying, has some recognition that holding out that long could be bad. When I was talking to my brother, though, my brother said something to me which I think was interesting. He compared it to the 2013 Ted Cruz Obama shutdown, where the Republicans caved and opened the government, and it was Obama who said to the Republican Party, "Ted, you're not getting anything, not one iota." And he thinks Donald Trump is in a position that says you're not going to get anything. We're not giving you a dime. And he also said it was not necessarily the wisest, not the wisest way to govern the country, is what he said. But he thought that was his kind of personal attitude toward it. So this may indicate that attitude is softening.
Thank you for that, Marshall. We'll go to Brian, followed by Dominic.
Hey, Gary. My thought is you can't really predict who's going to be the winner if the government opens up until you see how it's opened up. I've got a couple of theories. One is they have enough votes now due to Trump's pressure to blow up the filibuster. And another reason I think that may be a good case is the language that I'm seeing from the Republican base. It's not tempered at all. It's still mudslinging and that type of thing. So if you're trying to reach an agreement, it would seem that your jabs would be a little bit tempered. That's just the way I look at it. I have read articles, and also both parties are waiting till after this election is over before anything happens. But I have read articles that there are moderate Democrats that have floated the idea of voting with the Republicans for a promise for the ACA to come up as a vote. Me personally, that would be a defeat for the Democrats because I don't think their base is going to be happy about a promise. And as an independent myself, I would not trust that promise. I don't, the way Trump is operating his party, I don't think their promises are, they're not worth anything. The Democrats can stand and say, look, they broke their promise, and that's happened in the past, but what are you going to do about it? You're still stuck and you've got nothing. So that's that's kind of the way I look at it. And the polls that I've read, they're not quite as drastic as the AP one you just pulled, but all of them consistently show, except for the one Trump reads, but they all consistently show that the Republicans are taking the brunt. And I don't, and Trump is just, in my opinion, he's just showing how mean he can be to try and get this closed down. When you're talking about opposing the law, opposing the courts and still not paying the SNAP program, and this is the first shutdown, even his past one, SNAP rolled out as it should, and he's defying the court, and then he's always wanted to blow up the filibuster. And then also saw a different angle on him saying that supermarkets and stores can't give SNAP recipients a discount. I need to research that because I think there's a reason for that, but still it doesn't look good for him. It just looks like he's being mean and vindictive and using poor people as pawns, and I don't get it because he don't understand that Republicans also use the ACA, and Republicans, especially in rural communities, receive food stamps. I really don't, unless he thinks he's going to play on the heartstrings of Democrats, I don't get his play. I don't see I see how Democrats could be bad, come out looking bad, especially on a promise, or they don't get anything. I think the only thing they're really going to win is if Trump would give them what they want. But I don't really see how Republicans can come out of this looking good. I mean, even if they do the filibuster, I mean, if he may make his base mad if he gave the money to the ACA, but I don't. I mean, I think that might come out as a positive for him, in my opinion. I just don't see a positive spin either way it goes for Republicans. I mean, I think, and the only way the Democrats are going to win is if they get what they wanted. So, I mean, I'm kind of like with what Marshall said earlier. I think it might just be a wash that nobody's going to come out clean on this one. That's where I'm at.
Thank you for that, Brian. We'll go to Dominic, followed by Brent.
I'm going to say good evening, Gary, since now the sun is down and it's dark outside here in the Northeast.
Yes, but Dominic.
Yes.
The sun will come out tomorrow.
Oh, I love convincing with an optimist. Couple of points. First of all, I think I agree with Brian, but for a different reason. I'm going to say that nobody loses because really nobody cares. The elevation of the so-called ACA argument is smoke and mirrors, if you want to. It's not a huge issue. It is to the Democrats or the Democratic Socialists. But I think overall most people don't really know what it is or care. So I think whether the government doesn't open or does open, politically it's a non-event. But I have a couple of points I wanted to make. One, somebody said that Trump might be scared of something. I'm not sure what it was.
I think it was me. Are you talking about my comment about why he may want the nuclear option because he's frightened that an extended shutdown might affect the midterms? And
Yes,
the only reason I came to that as a possibility, I didn't say it was a probability, but the only reason I came to that as a possibility, I'm trying to understand his Truth Social post of this morning, about 7 o'clock this morning, when he said, we got to end the filibuster or we're going to lose the Congress in the midterms. I'm paraphrasing, but I can't figure out why he would say that. And as I think about it, that seems to me to be the only reason that makes sense, unless you could come up with a better one.
Yeah, I think I can. And I want to give the answer, but I had something I wanted to say. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. I don't think, given Trump's personality, that he's really scared of it. You could put a bullet, a microdot from his head, and he stands up and he puts his fist up in the air. I don't think it's wise, just from a political argument point of view, to impute frightening Donald Trump.
All right, so if you take away the adjectives I use,
Okay, fine.
is he concerned that they're going to lose the Congress because of the extended shutdown?
Fair enough. I don't think so, but I do think that he is quite comfortable with brinksmanship, Gary. Unlike other politicians who normally run from confrontation, and it is a sort of a human trait to run from confrontation. But his personality is, sort of like Churchill or Orwell, or one of Orwell's characters, that the the opportunity to stand against conventional wisdom and the willingness to take it to the limit, to quote an Eagles song, is what differentiates President Trump from other, let's just call them conventional politicians. And I would include myself among those, Gary, since you know I did stand for election in my committee and know what it's like to wait on election night to see whether you're going to win or going to lose. And I was a careful politician. I put my finger to the wind to see which way the people were. We have local issues like whether we're going to keep the airport open because of the noise, whether we're going to pay the cops, give them a 7% pay increase or not. But brinksmanship as a modus operandi, I think Trump is perfectly willing to burn down the house, the nuclear option. Let's just see how many other people are willing to go, how many other people are willing to put their life, I'm going to use metaphor here, to put their life on the line. I'm not going to do it. Maybe everyone else on the stage is willing to give their life up, but I'm not going to do it. But I think he is willing to. And that's what differentiates him from other politicians. And it differentiates him from, say, someone like Mondani, who I would refer to as an amateur. And so if he does get elected, he's going to be completely reliant on party bosses. And because he knows nothing about government.
Well, already Obama has offered to be his mentor and advisor.
He's got to have a lot of
and Jamie Dimon has offered to be his financial consultant. So I think they realize he knows nothing. He's like Sergeant Schultz.
Yes.
He knows nothing, although Sergeant Schultz saw nothing.
Right.
He knows nothing.
Listen, as a lifelong New Yorker, okay, I know and have seen his ilk before. Okay, he's not a new kind of entity in New York City politics. He's run-of-the-mill socialist. Have been around since turn of the century. But what he has here is a unique situation in which, like how Clinton got elected, we have a split both within the Democratic Party and without. We have a Republican who can't get elected door catcher and a disreputable Democrat who, quite frankly, is the worst candidate possibly to ever run a campaign. Okay, Cuomo. Stiff, inarticulate, lazy. I don't know what else to say about him. So the Democratic Socialist is probably going to win. But I think the rise of Democratic Socialists within the Democratic Party is one of the issues that will limit Democratic Party progress at the national level, and why we're probably going to have sort of a permanent Republican majority, both in the House and in the Senate for the foreseeable future. I'll leave it there. Thanks, Gary.
Can I ask that with a
I was
question?
just going to say, I'm looking at Scott's blood pressure monitor. When he heard that permanent Republican majority, it went through the freaking roof.
My blood
Yes,
pressure
Scott.
is so calm and so regular, buddy. I'm as healthy as a horse.
Scott meditates. He's cool.
Dominic, if Trump doesn't fear confrontation, right? And he was a big doer of things, which I think he is, right? Why doesn't he just pull Thune in and say, you get rid of that damn filibuster?
Who says he doesn't have the votes? At least that's what he
We
said
got the
yesterday.
votes. And he said, look, I'll bully every Republican in the Senate with you and tell them they'll never be elected dog catcher because I'll turn the whole MAGA against all of them.
All right, Scott, you could get 30 Democrats to vote for the end of the filibuster I'll get you 30 Republicans. Is that a deal?
But I'll tell you though, wouldn't we need, do you need 60 votes to end the filibuster? I didn't think you needed 60 votes to end. It's just a procedural rule, right?
I'll just split it with you. Whatever you get from the.
But I'm just saying, why don't the Republicans use this moment to kill Obamacare and replace it with something better?
Why don't you help me? Why don't you come and help me and partner with me, Scott, and deliver as many Democrats?
Scott, the answer is obvious because we don't have anything to replace it.
Yeah, and what's interesting? Americans by a 34-point margin view the Affordable Care Act favorably. When you go to Democrats, it's 84% favorable to 6% unfavorable. Independents, it's a 20-point margin. Even among Republicans, it's a 12-point. It goes 34-point favorable or whatever. It's even Republicans like it.
What
so I mean, the CA. So it's just interesting. Even Republicans, higher favorable than unfavorable.
Yeah, but
a lot of Republicans are on it.
Scott, my point was that nobody cares.
Well, then if it's not a lightning rod issue, why not just eat the $350 billion over 10 years? That's nothing. We spend that on programs to make sheep farmers feel good about themselves.
Because
that's actually
Trump wants to remodel and renovate the American government. And this is a bump in the road along the way of doing that.
I think that I admire that kind of pluck, and I almost wish, despite the fact that I like Obamacare, I think I would like to see him repeal it just for the sort of drama. But I don't think these people mean it. I think these Republicans, it's bullshit. I think if you pushed them, they wouldn't repeal it because they don't have an idea better, and because a lot of their voters like it. So I think they just say this stuff. I think it's all theater.
60 votes, Scott. So the point is, if you need 60 votes for closure in order to end the filibuster, then you need 60 votes to pass a continuing resolution. So it's the same 60 votes. Why?
No, that's not right, Scott. Gary, you need 60 votes for cloture, not to pass.
Yeah, you could pass it. You could get rid of the filibuster with a simple majority.
You need 60 votes to end the filibuster, right?
You need 60 votes to end a filibuster. You need 60 votes to end a filibuster.
Correct.
You need a simple majority to amend the Senate rules.
Well, that's a different question.
Yeah. I'm okay with that, Scott, and I will repeat my bipartisan plan, Scott, for you to deliver 24 or 25 votes on the Democrat side, and I'll deliver the rest on the Republican side. But I don't think any Democrat will vote to end the filibuster. I'm just kind of shoving the beer on your side of the table, Scott.
You might be right. Although I don't know.
By the way, the Brookings Institute, for what it's worth, says to formally change the Senate standing rules, such as Rule 22, Rule 22, XXII, Rule 22, to eliminate or alter the filibuster. The rule itself says it will require a vote of 2/3 of the senators present and voting while changing a rule by regular means. That means typically around 67 if all 100 are present. So it's even more, according to this, that you need in order to change the rule, much less end the filibuster. If that's accurate, why bother with the nuclear option when you need 60 votes to pass the continuing resolution? Just work to get those 60 votes. It's the same 60 votes.
The reason is, Gary, that you're inaccurate about the votes needed to impose a nuclear option. It's a simple majority.
Well, I'm not inaccurate. The Brookings Institution is inaccurate.
Okay, yeah.
I'm just the messenger, baby. I'm just reading what's in front of me.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Well, all right. If all they need is 50 votes to change the rule,
51.
51, let them change the rule. Easy peasy, right?
I said, well, I'll deliver.
Then why did
I'll
Thune say he
deliver
doesn't have the
I'll
votes?
deliver as many votes as
Yeah, because
Congress.
Thune doesn't think he can get 51 Republican votes,
And
and
you
he
can't
might
get-
not be.
you
He might
can't
not be
get
able
any
to.
Democrat. You can't get one.
You might not get, and Dominic, I think right now the reason you might, even though Democrats consistently poll as being against it, is I think in the era of Trump, this is the only weapon they see themselves as having, right? And so I think and look, I think Thune here represents the conservative mindset better than Trump does, right? Trump's not a conservative. I think the filibuster is a fundamentally conservative rule, right? It's one that says big change, you got to be wary of big changes, and any change that's big should require a supermajority, should require broad coalitions. So it's not a sort of progressives don't think like that, right? And so I think Thune is doing actually justice to the small c conservative spirit here in a way that Trump is not.
Well, listen, I'm going to agree with you, Scott, on that. I think the moderate position on both sides of the aisle is to keep the filibuster. I was just pulling your leg on the vote, but we have an iconoclast as a president. He is not, as I said earlier, a typical, got a yellow streak running down his back politician. And that's the distinction. So you got to deal with it. And I don't think that most people want to deal with the personality type that he represents or that he is. Then, we don't elect people like that, generally speaking.
So I can say on the other side, I can use my adjective that the members of Congress are scared to death of coming up against the president. Can I use scared for that?
As much as a normal.
Thank you. I wanted to use it so badly.
What was it, Gary? Could you repeat it?
Yeah, I said, can I use that? Can I use the terminology that I use for the president with regard to the midterms, then to the members of Congress who are, and you're going to use the same term because I want to use it so badly and you took it away from me, that the members of Congress are scared to death to stand up to the president.
Well, no.
Can I say that?
All members of Congress are naturally scared, okay? That's a 100% truism. So it's not a party-based personality trait.
See, I know how to work my editors, Dominic. I know how to work my editors to get in when I want to get into the story. Thank you, Dominic. Brent, followed by Steve. Brent.
Okay, so just to clarify, it takes 50 plus the vice president to overrule the parliamentarian in the Senate. So if you want to do that, which the Republicans actually did on nominations not too long ago, that's when you require 50 plus one votes. If you want to actually kind of formally change the Senate rules, it is a 67 number, which rarely.
Oh, so I wasn't wrong.
Yeah, well, you're kind of wrong.
Well, I wasn't wrong because I read verbatim what was in front of me, so I wasn't wrong.
well, to do this quote-unquote nuclear option, which is essentially overruling the parliamentarian and changing Senate precedent, that is the 50 plus the vice president, which gets registered.
The filibuster or a filibuster?
The filibuster. You overruled the parliamentarian. You said Senate precedent, and Senate precedent, you have new Senate rules.
So Scott was right again?
Yes, Scott is correct.
Oh, for God's sakes. I'm tired of this. He's always right. It's disgusting. Be wrong once in a while, Scott. Show that you're human.
I mean, you haven't asked how many times I've been divorced, Gary.
Well, I was talking to those women, and we'll talk about that later. Go ahead.
So, for a country that doesn't care about any of this, it is odd that Trump's approval ratings are at its lowest point of his second term. I always look at Nate Silver's average. That average is as low as it's ever been. I mean, some of his recent polling, CNN poll had him at 37% approval, 63% disapproval. Economists had him at 39% approval, 57% disapproval. These are the polling. This is about what he was polling. Um, when he left office after January 6th, and he was polling higher than this when he got creamed in the midterms last time. So, let's don't forget that the midterms during the last Trump administration, he was pretty unpopular. Not as unpopular as he is right now, but he was pretty unpopular, and the Republican Party got creamed.
So are you suggesting, Brent, that in large measure the midterms will be a referendum on the president?
They're always a referendum on the president, so I'm not suggesting that. That's just historical norms. What I'd suggest is politically, this shutdown is working relatively well for Democrats. I mean, there's no polling that shows that they're doing bad politically. You had NBC polling showed that their generic ballot poll, they're up 8 points, which is a huge jump. I suspect these kind of off-year elections will go pretty well for the Democrats. If you look at the poly markets right now, you see the people who are really paying attention to early returns and voter turnout. Republican chances are dropping remarkably quick, and Democratic probabilities of winning are going up. So, politically, I think this is going relatively well. But it still doesn't go well if you're a SNAP beneficiary, if you're a person that is dependent on the ACA or need the ACA for healthcare. It doesn't go well for them, and the Democratic Party has always had a threat of being the party of responsibility. So they are starting, at least the moderate members of the Democratic Party are starting to come to the table. At the developing deal, at least per Punch Bowl and other kind of people who cover Congress, is basically a minibus bill that would fund ag, defense, and the ledge branch. So their staffers get paid for the whole year, and then do a CR until December 19th, which you're off on the possibility another cliff until the 19th. But that's kind of what's being developed. That said, I don't think that is a done deal until the man in the White House says so, and I kind of think he will blow it up and kind of go to nuke the filibuster, which is something I've mentioned before. I think would be good for the country. I think the filibuster is a pretty counterproductive role for American democracy. We'd be better off killing it, because I think when Republicans win a trifecta, there's got to be policy ramifications for that, and when Democrats win it, there's got to be policy ramifications, and that allows voters to get the information they need to make a decision. I think now is kind of a stasis in American politics, and I think that's bad for everybody. So I personally think it'd be good. That's one thing I agree with Donald Trump on. To Dominic's point, of course, Democrats aren't going to vote to kill the filibuster. And essentially, and not fix Obamacare, so they're not going to vote for that. But I think it was enough pressure. I think Donald Trump can maybe get 51 votes or 50 votes plus the vice president to kill it, and I kind of hope he does.
It's interesting, as you were talking, I was thinking about this, and I'm going to get some pushback, and that's fine. But it seems to me the Republicans, they really bristle at the idea of socialism, which many of them cannot distinguish from communism. And so it's a little bit of a red baiting that's going on here. So Republicans are opposed to socialism until you try to take away their Social Security, their Medicare, their Medicaid, their SNAP benefits, and we'll add our disdain for socialism and lay on top of that our hatred for Obama, but please don't take away our Obamacare. So
I mean, the
I
Times.
think that's the reality. I don't know. Am I right or wrong about?
I mean, the Times had a really good article, and my heart goes out to them. But it was essentially in West Virginia, kind of asking people coming up to food pantries about what SNAP meant to them. And you know, it was terrible. You know, it was talking about the amount of shortage that their family has. And if you look at SNAP benefits, it primarily affects people in red states. Like the density of those who receive SNAP benefits are much more dense in red states than blue states.
And you would think that if the president was playing this smart and he was concerned about the midterm elections, he would not have attempted to withhold the release of the reserves to keep at least some of those SNAP benefits going, because the optics of that are very, very bad, I think, in terms of people who might otherwise vote red, but who need those SNAP benefits literally to survive.
I mean, those voters are voting red for cultural reasons. They're voting red because, you know, Democrats are more concerned about transgender rights than they are for them. So that
And bathrooms, yeah, all that
sort of stuff.
And well, this is where the Democrats have really shot themselves in the foot. And then you run a candidate. Yeah, everybody talks about what a horrible candidate Harris was. Well, what about our vice presidential candidate who signed the bill to put tampon dispensers in boys' bathrooms and it's true. When I heard it argued, I said no, but I looked it up and it's true.
But my point is those issues are secondary to feeding your family. And my point is sometimes you have to let policies go in effect you disagree with so the public can actually understand the material difference between the two parties. The problem with filibuster is nothing ever changes because you need a supermajority in the Senate, and essentially nobody ever has that supermajority. By getting rid of the filibuster, you actually give information to the voters, and real information to the voters about how these two parties affect them materially, and that I think would be better long term for the American politics. Like, let Republicans have their policies and let the voter feel their policy and see if they like it, and the opposite way around. And let's figure out, you know, what policies are better. And I would argue that is the fastest way to kind of move past this kind of cultural affiliation voting that I think is unhealthy for American democracy.
Brent, have you ever acknowledged publicly, and here's your opportunity to do so, failings of your party? Your response to what I just said was, but, and then you went on. But you won't even acknowledge that the Democrats are idiots for pushing these kinds of programs that are unbeneficial to their opportunity to hold national office. Do you acknowledge that or not?
I just acknowledged that.
I don't think you did. But go ahead and clarify.
Let me finish. I just acknowledged that the Democratic Party has been too consumed with cultural issues and not enough with basic economic issues.
There you go. I hope somebody recorded that. Thank you, Brent. Steve, followed by Anthony.
Hey, Gary. How's it going?
Good. I just want to let you know, since Brent mentioned the long lines apparently at the food pantries in your state, there are long lines at the food pantry in my state as well. And you know what? I wonder, that should have been where some of these anecdotal interviews should have occurred today. I just thought about that. I think I haven't heard any that maybe somebody had done them, but I heard a lot of anecdotal. They all go out and interview people at the polls. It's all anecdotal. It doesn't mean anything. But I think it would have been really instructive to hear how people are voting in the gubernatorial election, who are standing in line at my neighborhood Salvation Army food pantry that's crying for donations right now because they cannot stand up to the demand that they are getting. I would really like to hear what those people have to say about the gubernatorial race and whether the fact that they are standing in line at a food pantry affects their vote. It may not affect the outcome of the election, but I wonder if it affects their vote. I think that would be very instructive. Damn it, I wish I had thought about that earlier, because on my way home from work, I would have made that stop. Oh, what an idiot, I blew it. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, but why would that be relevant? You're talking a state versus federal issue.
Because
What the federal does is irrelevant to what a governor can do.
Nah, because because in the minds of the voters, it affect, especially right now in the New Jersey race, this is a Trump versus the Democrat race. This Citarelli, I don't want to mispronounce his name. I think it's Citarelli. I've mispronounced it several times. You know, I sometimes spell people's names wrong and I get slapped for it. I guess if I mispronounce his name, I'll get slapped for that too. I think it's Citarelli. Citarelli is hanging his wagon, just like Mandami is hanging his wagon as the anti-Trump candidate. Citarelli is running as the pro-Trump candidate. So, yeah, I think it would be very instructive.
Yeah, I just think they're apples and oranges. I don't know if a governor in the United States, his opinion can change what transpires in the Senate. But, you know, one of the things that Brent was talking about there about the cultural, that's partially true. Just from clarification from deep within the bowels of the great netherworld that is West Virginia. But, you know, one dimension that a lot of people, not to get off topic too much, that forget about these people. This is working class state, and the decimation of our industry because of energy policies in the last 20 years, the corporate policies of international trade. Yeah, that kind of contributes to the people standing in the food line. If you was making $100,000 a year and now you're working at a convenience store, you might have a little bit difference there. That's beyond culture. But I digress. Let me get back to the point. You know, I guess we've come to the position that it's acceptable to form legislation through hostage taking now. That's what I hear. Well, you just got to give it to them. So, yeah, we're going to create legislation based on hostage taking. And I don't think that's a good way. I don't think that's a thing that's should be encouraged within our political system, to hold hostage in order to form legislation. So we have on the table right now a clean CR that maintains the levels that was always there, that was there during the Biden administration. Nothing's changed, but we're going to create legislation through hostage taking. Congratulations. What a wonderful government we have here now. But more to the point of the question that's being asked, Gary. And I think this short term could have some political implications. I think long term, for the significance of the midterms, it may be brought up, but I think there's going to be so much water under the bridge by that time that I don't think a lot of people's going to remember or really going to be influenced that hard by what we see occurring now. But I think the longer implication here is, if successful, that we're going to have a tactic now, not by discussion, not by going in and trying to hammer out, here's my idea, here's your idea. I got something I want done. Let's just wait till we need to fund the government. Then we'll hold the government hostage until you capitulate. So that doesn't sound like something I think in the long term can be beneficial for the House or the Senate. I think it sets bad precedent, and I'll leave it there.
So I suspect you are suggesting that it's advantage Republicans in the midterms with regard to the shutdown because the Democrats, in your opinion, are holding the country hostage by demanding that the Obamacare be negotiated first before they approve a continuing resolution.
Yeah, I mean, what else can it be? We're not going to continue, even though we have something that has been exactly at the levels that's been going on. And this is something Democrats and Republicans do all the time because they obfuscate on tackling the hard issues of being in government. They don't want to face the realities of what they have to deal with. But now we've ratcheted it up. And we're saying we're going to create legislation through hostage taking. You're not going to get to fund anything unless you capitulate to our demands. And I think that sets a very bad precedent for this country.
Thank you, Steve. So your response to my comment about interviewing people at the food bank lines. Now your response makes me really wish I had asked, because I might have gotten your answer. Well, we don't care about what's going, any of that. We don't care about the governor's race. All we care about is, getting our SNAP benefits back, and that has nothing to do with the governor's race. I might have gotten that response. I might have gotten a different response. So now I'm really curious about what response I would have gotten. We can speculate, but I should have gone out there and asked the question myself.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, Steve said this is a new precedent. I don't forget. I think the longest shutdown in history was caused by Trump and the Republicans over the wall funding. I mean, they shut down the government. This one might surpass that one, but that was the longest. And it's not. I don't think it's. I don't love it, but I'm just saying I don't think it's unprecedented. The longest one.
Yeah, but the point is holding hostage, and would you not argue that they were holding the government hostage
Absolutely.
over the wall issue, and they suffered politically as a result of that. So maybe the same is true here. Maybe Steve's got a point that the Democrats are holding the nation hostage over the Obamacare issue, and so they will suffer the same fate.
I think the reason they might not, and they might. But the reason is the Obamacare is a lot more popular than the wall. It affects. I mean, the numbers are wild about how much people's without the subsidies, how much people's 0% of the people that use Obamacare make under $60,000 a year. These are Trump's. This is a group Trump won.
Yeah, but now it's like
This is if I were Trump, I'd be.
That's a good point, Scott. But how else would? Even though you may characterize it as two different issues, the principle is the same, isn't it? You're not going through normal legislation.
No, absolutely. I don't like it. I'm with you, Steve. But I don't understand why Trump doesn't just end the shutdown and say, look, I ended it by giving health care to my voters, and now do it.
It's 9 wars. The 9th war.
Yeah. And we only have one party involved here.
By giving your voters health care. And it's only 25. It's a fraction of what this is not a lot of money in the context of the budget, right? It's $25 billion this year, $350
But
billion
your
over 10 years.
Democratic senator says otherwise. Your Democratic senator says pass the continuing resolution and then fight for Obamacare.
As it should be, Gary. As it should be. And we toss around 350 billion like it's nothing, but we're 38 trillion.
Would you rather give it to these Americans or give it to Argentina, Steve?
No, Scott. I'm going to a larger point. It's not that it's this particular thing. I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about the military. I'm talking about foreign aid, everything. If we don't address these 100 billion here and 100 billion there, if we don't start addressing the whole government in a way to make it more efficient and to bring it into some kind of financial sanity, we eventually are going to suffer the consequences, and it will be ugly. And then
Of course, it's all about your individual pet project. So, if you're concerned about the drug trade, and I know you are, Steve, and you have very personal reasons for being concerned about that, maybe you're okay with spending an equal amount of money to fight the drugs from coming in here from.
I would much rather spend money eradicating the drug trade that's killing millions of Americans than send foreign aid every time they get
But would you rather do that than pay for the health care of poor people?
Well, I think poor people need health care. But I think Obamacare, even though it fills the bill in the generic fashion, I think there's warts associated with it. I think it should be renegotiated. I think it could be done more efficiently. But that's a long-term process that people have to look at. In the meantime, just like SNAP benefits, yeah, people need health care. Get in there. If you want to fund it for a year or two and work out a better plan, go for it. But we have to address this.
Where has been? I hear you, and look, I think there could be a lot better plans than Obamacare. I'd be for getting the insurance companies out of the game for what. But why haven't the Republicans? They've had since 2000. This was 13 years. Why has there not been? Trump has not presented a plan. Where's the plan? Why is there no plan?
I can tell you why, Scott. Because they're cowards to address it. They know that it's something that is going to cost a lot of money. They know it's going to be viewed as big government, and they're cowards to address it. Well, it needs to be addressed. People need to be able, if they're sick, to be able to go to the doctor and see a doctor. This is something that needs to be done. But they're cowards for not going in and addressing it, so they'll rail about it. It's like they said that it's going to get rid of it as soon as they got a majority. What'd they do? Nothing. Because they are cowards. Just like the majority of the House and the Senate, these are tough issues, and I've sat in on tough issues. Most people don't like to have 100 people barking at them because you're telling them the truth. I've had that. I'll stand there and tell you the truth. I don't care. Let the flag fly. But most people don't have the guts for it, Scott, and that's what we're looking at, and that's why we're in the position we're in. We got Democrats, we got Republicans that don't have the guts because of their proclivity for this little cocoon in Washington, D.C. to stay and be a part of. That they don't have the guts to do the will and be right with the American people.
But there's another aspect to this, maybe, Steve, if I may interject, and that's Donald Trump. If Donald Trump told the Republicans in Congress, pass a health care bill, come up with a plan, and work with the Democrats, and come up with something that improves it for all Americans, they would do it.
Gary,
but he doesn't.
That's probably true. But the problem I described transcends Trump. It's cultural. Within the House, within the Senate, within the political bowels of Washington, D.C., people want to be a part of it. They'll schmooze. They'll take money, whatever it takes, and they will not look after the betterment of the American people. And they'll say whatever they need to retain power. This is beyond.
I agree with that 100%. I agree with that 100%. But we are in a unique time in your life and mine, where we have a president who has such control over the Congress, such that even when he is not even in office, when a bipartisan bill, I know Marshall doesn't like the bill, but when a bipartisan bill is presented to deal with the border, he says, whoa, no. The head count was already taken, they had the votes, and he said, stop. Do not vote for this, Republicans, because that'll make it look like Joe Biden did something to stop the problem at the border. Vote against it so he looks worse, and then when I come in, I'll take care of it. And they said, okay, Mr. President. So he's got this kind of control over the House in particular, a little less control over the Senate, that if he really wanted to resolve this problem, getting back to Scott's argument, we could have had this resolved during his first term. It's now been 3 terms, or 2.5 terms, 2 terms and a quarter, you know? Oh my God, your microphone's open. We don't hear you, Steve.
Yeah, I also want to say, you know, one of Steve's guys' mic issues, the history of Obamacare, this is a Republican plan, right? I mean, when Hillary came out with her sweeping Hillary Care idea, the Heritage Foundation basically came out with this type of...
Is going to fall on the Congress and the senators, and I don't think they have the political guts. And that's the pessimism I hold right now, because we're at such an inflection point that political guts is necessary. And I don't think our politicians have it, Republican or Democrat. And I think we're in a lot of trouble because of it.
See, I think that the irony here is Obamacare is a Republican plan, right? I mean, the Heritage Foundation came out with a skeleton framework of it in response to Hillary Care, when she wanted a big government system, right, that was big, hairy, and audacious. And the Heritage Foundation said, what about a system like this? Romney built on that, right? Romney is a conservative guy, wanted a market-based approach as opposed to a sort of European style, England sort of NHS or something. And it was wildly popular in Massachusetts. So basically, Obama annexed a center-right idea. I mean, the only way you could go more right-wing than this is just say, get the government out of healthcare, right? Go a libertarian direction. But everything else, every other sort of healthcare reform would be to the left of this, right? Would be moving left. So I don't know why the Republicans aren't defending Obamacare, for fear that people are going to want something less expensive with more coverage.
I think you just answered your own question.
Maybe the Republicans want socialized medicine.
Those who need it do. Those who don't. We vote on our own self-interest. By the way, every member of Congress has socialized medical care for life. So they can rail against it all they want. It's not good enough for you, Scott, but it's good enough for them.
And my point is that it's branded Obamacare. That unto itself is a nice...
It was the Republicans who called it, in a disparaging manner, Obamacare. And one day, Barack Obama said, oh, they're calling it Obamacare. I kind of like that. And then the script flipped over in the branding. So, and I thought that was brilliant. I remember when he did it, and I thought at the time, right on. Thank you, Steve. Anthony, followed by John. Anthony.
Hello, everyone in the room and on the stage. Can you hear me?
Loudly and clearly.
Awesome, good. So my political viewpoint is this. I'm going to give you a short story. On December 25th last year, I had a stroke and I had a heart attack, one after another, right? So now, when my doctor called today, I told her why I missed my appointments. Because President Trump has decreased funding where people who need to go to healthcare can't get there. I live in the outskirts of Chicago, Illinois. I live in the suburbs, but I'm not rich. I'm on Social Security. So get this. A lot of my friends who work for the government is suffering tremendously. When she called, when my best friend called me just yesterday, she was like, bro, you know, you used to be on top of us, you know, you used for the government, now you're not, you know, you don't work for them anymore. Can you loan me $200? I said to her, I do not have it. If I had it, I would. And I'm getting to her, I said, this shutdown is killing a lot of people who needs to get to their doctors, because he has cut billions of dollars for us to get to and from our doctors, from who live outside or in these protected cities all over the country. Now,
Are you talking about transportation?
yes,
Okay.
civil transportation.
Gotcha.
So I think it's a bigger fish. I think it's a bigger fish that people are not looking at. Okay, the middle class is, I would say, at least 75% of government. And when you look at going to the pantry lines, like somebody said on the stage, there are very, very long. And you're looking at middle class people. They are suffering tremendously. And when you try to go and try to get like a part-time job or a full-time job, guess what? There are none. Our economy is suffering. Our economy was suffering before the shutdown because I was trying to become a substitute teacher because I have a degree. I couldn't get one. So my point is, somebody made a comment. I think it was Steve who made a comment that the Democrats is holding the SNAP benefit and the ACA hostage. No, they're not. They are, but they're not. The reason why I said because who controls what? The president controls Congress. But my question is, why hasn't Congress came up with a plan for Obamacare? Why haven't the Republicans came up with a backup plan for SNAP benefits? And then third, why isn't the Republicans have not started looking at different economic ways of creating jobs? When the July report came out that there was less jobs, I began to search and search and search. Now about to land my plane. There were very little jobs. And because I was overqualified, I could not get in. My point is this. I consider middle class, although I'm on Social Security. I get pretty much a sum of money. But it's barely enough to pay my bills. My refrigerator is, guess what? Empty. I'm hurting, but I'm not on SNAP. So I have to pay everything cash. I can't get Medicaid because of what I get from Social Security. So there's a lot of people like that that's suffering on Social Security. So my point is, and I'm like Steve, when our Republican Party going to get some balls and really start doing stuff? Period. Who's gonna be from this? The Democrats. Why? Because they have the ACA and they have the SNAP, and there's nothing to replace them that's going to be effective for all Americans and not just Congress. So when they leave Congress, they are going wealthy. Our last Speaker of the House, he left Congress with, I think, $19.9 million. But when he came in, he was only making a little over $175,000. And that alarmed me. It really alarmed me. So my question is this. When is the Republicans going to start doing the motherfucking job and stop blaming the damn Democrats for every goddamn thing? I'm not Democrat nor Republican. I'm independent. And I'm not playing.
So Anthony, don't go anywhere. Guys, don't kick him off the stage yet. Unbelievably, a candidate for Congress of the United States of America from suburban Chicago is next caller. He is a Republican. So let's take Anthony's issue and put it to John, our next caller. John, would you like to be introduced to Anthony so that maybe when he has a doctor's appointment, you could volunteer as a Republican to drive him to his doctor appointments?
About clubhouses, I can help Anthony coordinate here without personally getting involved in Anthony's life. Gary, I love your socialistic way of thinking.
Well, that's not socialistic. That's neighbor helping neighbor. What do you mean not personally getting involved? If Anthony was my neighbor, if he said he was here in New Jersey, I would say, Anthony, no worries. I will get you to the hospital. And I'm not a politician. And I'm not a Republican. Here's your chance to prove that Republicans are not mean-spirited as Anthony believes them to be. Can you help the guy out?
Anthony is an independent. And first of all, Anthony, regardless of Republican or Democrat, sorry to hear about your difficulties, your financial problems and your friends' financial problems. I would say that the reason in 2025 why we have so many financial problems is because of the Federal Reserve, the big banks, big government, big Medicare, Medicaid, big medical.
I'm going to
industrial
suggest, and Anthony is clearly, in spite of his stroke, able to speak for himself. But I'm going to suggest that nonsense that just came out of your mouth does not resonate with the people who actually are in need. Anthony, am I correct about that?
Correct. Everything you just said, sir, excuse my French, was garbage. You did not give me a solution, as Gary just did.
I'm trying to describe the situation to you accurately to understand what a possible solution looks like. It's debt resolution, debt negotiation.
Debt
we have
resolution and
$38
debt
trillion
resolution,
the rest of the world combined has less than
does
38
nothing
trillion debt.
to
We're
help
bankrupt.
people like
We're broke.
Anthony.
Admit
Nothing.
it. The
Nothing.
government
What's
is
coming out of your mouth
Anthony is
political
broke.
nonsense.
Government is broke.
It does nothing to help a gentleman like Anthony.
I hear
Your
you.
neighbor. Now,
Listen,
if you don't want to get
Anthony-
personally involved, who do you know that can? I'll tell you what,
Anthony-
you come on the clubhouse, and I know people, and you've mentioned them yourself, and God bless them, they've helped you out. They've contributed to your campaign. How about taking some of that money and pay for Uber for Anthony?
Well, we just paid $100 to get our final petitions in to the Illinois Election Commission, and we are on the ballot. So I want to thank Howard, who gave us money. And
All right.
others.
So I'm just saying, did
Thank
you
you,
spend
Scott.
all that money?
No, we just raised more.
Well, how about a little constituent services for Anthony here?
All
I'm
right,
serious.
Anthony. Anthony, put your number in the chat. Oh, look, you censor the chat. There's no chat. Anthony, hit me
There's
up
a
for the
chat
back
up above, and you guys can message one another. I want to help this guy.
Thanks, Gary. All right, well, Gary, I'll match you dollar for dollar. How much you gonna kick up?
I'll match you.
All right, I'll give $100 to Anthony. Gary, are you good for the 100?
Of course I am. What do you mean, am I
Okay,
good
Anthony,
for it?
message
Am
Gary
I, what do
in
you
the back
mean
channel.
that am I good
Do
for
you
it?
have
Are
Cash
you
App?
kidding
Do you
me?
have Zillow?
Are you
I mean,
questioning
do you
whether
have
I'm good
PayPal,
for it? Are you questioning if I commit myself to something?
All right,
whether I'm
Anthony,
good for
Gary
it?
just
I'm not running for
$200.
office. I am
Anthony,
good for it.
Gary just raised you $200. I want to thank Gary for doing the right thing for Anthony.
No. I want to thank you as a possible constituent, for sure, a neighbor, for helping a brother out.
Amazing. Solutions now, results focused, oriented individuals. Anthony, thanks for coming to this incredible critical thinking forum. Tomorrow you might be able to get $500. Who knows?
Who knows, right? Anthony, do you know how to message me?
Yes, I do, sir.
Okay,
But,
give me a little message, and we'll. But John, don't you renege. You're on the record.
I'm not going to renege, Gary, but I want to tell you that I got to tell you, all you speakers on here sound like you work for big banks. You don't care about debt. You don't care about borrowing, spending, or stopping spending.
Okay.
You just want the money.
What does that
now.
have to do
And
with
there's
the government
more
shutdown?
money.
Explain.
$38
I'll give you a
trillion
chance.
in debt,
I'll
ladies
give you a
and gentlemen.
chance. I'll give you a chance. Hold on. I'll give you a chance.
Debt liability.
I will give you a chance to explain how that argument answers a question that if and when the government shutdown ends, which party wins or loses. Explain it.
Well, there's no winners. We are all the losers. We, the people, are the ones who gave up our sovereignty to the banks, to all the borrowing, spending, and taxes. 138 trillion total. The whole world has less debt than we do. We have spent everything we had in 25 years since 9/11. We got scammed. We got ripped off. International businesses and U.S. national businesses. I don't know what the real solution is for the financial crisis, which is here now. And the fact that the government is shut down is indicative of a coming financial crisis. You don't know what a depression is like, but it's coming. We have created so much debt. It's uneffing believable. In just 25 years, we've gone from 1 to 2 trillion in debt, multiplied 38.2 trillion. It's unbearable. It's unbelievable. Where did all this money go? The U.S. money supply is at 22 trillion. Where's all the dollars? Where's all that money? So Anthony doesn't have it. He's on a call now. But I would like more money as well as you. I'm sure everyone here wants abundance in their life. I'm not anti-abundance, I'm anti-borrowing and spending on programs and projects that we don't need as Americans, for we the people. Let's focus internally within our perimeter and focus all of our major cities, clean it all up. And let's, start negotiating this debt down. 10 trillion is owned by foreign governments. Well, we can start negotiating there. We can play more hardball. Trump is this great negotiator. Well, what's he negotiating for your personal debt, for your public debt? I'm running for Congress. I need your support. I need your dollars. If you believe in fiscal conservatism or libertarian type thinking with regards to budgets and borrowing and spending, programs and projects, enough is enough. And, my slogan is vote for John Kitover. It's better than nothing.
Oh, well, that's a pretty endearing. It's sort of like the guy with the sign begging for money for marijuana. Thank you, John. Victoria fell out and came back. Victoria.
Thank you, Gary. And yeah, that was a bunch of baloney, but I think we're used to those types of meat packing.
Well, I mean, he's running for office, and that's his and that's his platform. I don't know. You may agree with what he says, and you might not. I don't know whether it's baloney.
Yeah, the U.S.
There might have been a little meatloaf in there. There might have been a little meatloaf in there, Victoria.
The U.S. debt is over $37 trillion, and I do agree. Like we have to actually look at these things and examine it. But I don't think giving tax breaks to the ultra wealthy helped at all. In fact, it actually contributed to that debt quite a bit. If and when the government shutdown ends, who wins and loses? Well, the American people are not winning, and that's the unfortunate aspect. It is my belief the Republicans own this government. The government that we have right now is GOP led. It's MAGA led. If anyone is to be blamed, it's them. And Trump doesn't give a fuck. Like, sorry to use bad language. I apologize for using that on
don't
stage.
apologize, Victoria.
Okay. But he doesn't care. Like, he never will care. And that's the problem, is that he would rather extend his vacation, and so would many of, potentially some of his followers in Congress. But the American people suffer as a result of this, and we're seeing it play out. And the Democrats, I applaud them for taking a stance, but to be quite honest, like, the only thing that Congress has to do is just approve a budget. That's it. That's your only job, and you are not functioning in your job. So exactly. I would just say, like, none of them are doing their job at this point.
Thank you, Victoria. Anthony, you got a pen and paper?
I messaged you already.
I know, but here's a better way. I saw you messaged me, but you can email me, reportergary@gmail. You can remember that, reportergary@gmail.com. Email me, and then we'll work something out.
Gotcha. May I respond to Victoria and John?
Yeah.
John had a point. I used to be in the political realm. I used to be a campaign manager. And what I did was I always looked at the finances. I always looked at how much money we getting in for these candidates. And you know what I did? I had a structured budget. And if we went under, we gave that money back to that donor. Because that's the right thing to do. Instead of keep the money and do something else with it. I agree with Victoria, because we are suffering. The American people is suffering each hour. Thank God my mama has food in her refrigerator. Thank God that my aunties. But look at the elders. They don't have food in their refrigerators. their bills are not fully being paid. Although they get Social Security is not enough. There's a few of them that wants to have to go back, to try to work a job. There are no jobs. There's no part-time jobs. Prime example, I put in 5 part-time jobs, one across the street, one down the street, right? I talked to the manager because I know them personally, and they don't have the budget, but they need help. So it goes back to John's perspective. We are in a deficit. Our government is broke, but yet the rich is getting richer, and the middle class is suffering, along with the poor, or I would say the elderly. We are all suffering in one form or fashion. So what I'm saying is we all got to come together and love on each other. I help elders all the time. When I have extra money for my Social Security and my bills are low, I help out. I help the homeless. I'm $20. Come to my apartment. My brother's like, look, here's this or here's a meal. Well, we can't do that now because of now the government shutdown. Is because they haven't set the damn budget. We broke. And everybody needs help. So what I'm saying is, if you got it, help. You get it back, God will bless you. Trust me, He will bless you. So I thank you for allowing me to speak. I'll land my plane, and you can put me back in the office if you wish to. I'm here just to listen.
Excellent last words. Thank you, Anthony, and make sure you write me, reportergary@gmail.com, and we'll hook you up. Howard, back on the hot seat, Howard. Howard on the hot seat has your duly elected member of Congress who has agreed to cast the deciding vote to release the Epstein files. Has she been properly seated as of today by the Speaker of the House from the great state of Arizona, Howard?
Hey, Gary. Tonight we're coming to you live from Cave Creek, Arizona, the historic winter home of Hell's Angels. And from all information that we've been able to gather, Adelita Gruhavla, she still has not been seated to fulfill the seat that magnanimously her father had served for many years. That still has not happened.
And have those Epstein files, as promised, been released as of yet, Howard?
We're still trying to track that down, but as of right now, Gary, as far as our information and sources tell us, they have not yet been released.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, on the front lines in the great state of Arizona, fighting the drought, fighting the monsoons, fighting the windstorms, our own Howard Kaufman and our service. We thank you for your service to this room, Howard. Folks, we're here Monday through Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. New York time. So till 5 p.m. New York time tomorrow for the next edition of the Critical Thinking Forum. Everybody be safe, be well, and peace out.
What?
See,
still there right now, and he
of y'all fuckery, y'all bullshit. Y'all are not winning at the polls. Y'all are not winning the people over. You are starving people. You are treating people like shit, and we are tired of it. And guess what? We are flipping the fucking. Hey, guess what? You can call it what the fuck you want, but guess what? The people are fucking voting you motherfuckers out. And guess what? And I'm mad at this. And bitch, we won.
What did you win? What is that?
We won. Because you know that's what you made us love that part. Y'all love that part. We won. Guess what? And
Another vote in Congress. That's what we won.
We won. Bitch, we won.
What did you win?
We won. You got we won. You got me.
I just don't understand.
We won two governors, bitch. We won.
How is your life better than mine? I don't know.
How was your life better than that with Trump? You mad? I knew you was